Hello, and welcome to the 40th episode. We're really that far along in this thing. um, let's hop right into the project. So, we left off with the violins, viola, cello, all the string section. And of course, as soon as I opened the project today, I go, what if I doubled up the violin part? How crazy would that be? So, I'm thinking we're going to do that. Then cut here. Oops. One last cut right here. Then this is open. And this is the same library, so I'm hoping it translates decently. Let's just hear out. Hold up. Gosh, we're off to a rough start. This is rocky. I don't think I've even played music yet. Alright, let's listen. And off the rip, I was already wondering if I could drop it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's do that. Okay, I think that's gonna be fine. Just where that is. Oof. Let's listen in context. I see. We could drop him a little bit. Just so I feel better about it. I might just leave those. So let's say we did that. And we're to glue it in. Hold up. I think I forgot to bring these down. Let's go. Very repetitive. I think we can drop this. I like this part better than this part. Hmm. See if I can create a different feel. I'm not feeling it as much. All right. Another crazy move. Matter of fact, this one, just to make life easier, we're going to copy and paste. And we're going to save. This is bugging. Okay. You already know we're making a short and long one. So let's see. There we go. And this is the short, so we'll go ahead and click into staccato. Nice. So kind of like we did with the viola, I'm just going to double this one up. Yeah, you know what? Let's take a poison here. So let me see. Let's just do it the way it's meant to be. Okay. I wasn't ready for that. So match the panning. Love this bridge. Let me just spell that. Maybe the violin too really isn't necessary. Screen. I was definitely doing a thumbnail with this. Alright. Interesting. That was probably just for color, I swear. Alright, let's highlight all this funky junk. And I'm gonna try to be more mindful of where the second screen is kind of blocking stuff, because this goes pretty quick. I'm just going to kind of raise it and drop it with the general trend. So it feels like I want it to kind of feel like as you go higher, there's a little more energy, and as you drop, you're cooling it down. It's not perfect. I feel like there's like a bass guitar plugin that I have, and it has, you can select which string, upstroke, downstroke, and I think like that is, if you really wanted to make it the most realistic, like I think that is the level of sampling you really need to do, but then it's also like you have to just understand like this is the selection I would make for this, and this is why. It's like it's a lot more intense than something like this where I'm just going, okay, the action's kind of rising and falling, and I'm just following the general trend. And if there's something that sticks out, is like, oh, that wasn't right. Like even like this is probably poking out a little bit more. I'm just kind of doing a catch-all. All right. Am I tripping right now? Or is that doing like nothing for that? Alright, let's take a wild guess at what I can do to fix that. Alright, we're gonna go over an even kind of medium because I don't think that midi velocity actually is affecting this, which is crazy. But I don't know. Let's see. That's another thing, is gluing. Go ahead. Glue. So, I'm gonna guess the velocity really didn't do anything for it. But just in case, we'll leave it all somewhere in the middle. Right. Yeah, I don't think this is doing anything for it. That's crazy. So let's focus on the mod wheel then. I would rather have it hitting nice and hard on that part. We can go just a little bit harder than that. I think I'm going to bring the oboe down. And just for curiosity, all this is for naught. So we will have to do swells and stuff like that manually. Camera check. Camera's good. What am I doing messing with that? That was just wrong. Okay. Jump back. I'm just checking the range. Alright, I think that is a pretty fair place. And again, just a tester. Yeah, velocity is meaningless with this. Good to know. I think that is what made these strings so inhuman. And we went through and did a lot of effort that probably didn't pay off until we doubled. So, something good to know, and something we will look out for the second violin. Which is probably why I padded it so low, is because it's not dynamically that interesting. Alright, let's see here. covers the woodwinds. Let's just look at the bassoon. So now our process is much easier because we're not going to be to the MIDI. And I wonder if I could assign the velocity like something else. Let's just say we were to, well, even that I already knew shouldn't work. All right, copy. And we're going to take it to mod wheel. Let's just see if this works. Dang, it did not. All right. That is a bummer. Anyways, let's jump into the brass. Just here. Let's just hear what's cooking there. What are we thinking about that? I think it sounds dope. Whew. At some point, I'm gonna have to acknowledge how embarrassing it is that plugin was never actually making any difference. Probably should have noticed that, but alas, I'm cursed. It's dumb, and I just missed it. But there's nothing I can do about it now. I just have to keep rolling and just realize that I don't even know. Maybe I'll go in and I'll play with some new instruments because what it would be all velocity, and the mod wheel is useful to a certain degree. Maybe the round robin covers it okay, but that seems like a tough sell. There we go. Nice. You know what? We might as well just do it with all of them. Let's just go ahead. Right, so bump, bump, bump. What's funny is I used that French horn part to build a lot of the stuff, so to change it up is probably well supported. What's shocking is that's no reverb buzz. It feels like a lot of reverb. Let's see. as much. I think something along the lines of like this is gonna work better. Just because that line gets repetitive. Let's check out this. Okay, alright. How do we want to get into this thing? Because this does nothing for us. Well, it must have, because that did not sound the same. Alright, so something is working with the velocity. That makes me feel a little better, because if that timpani, because that timpani is different. And there's no mod wheel presence on it. So... Nope. Okay. It's closer. let's jump into the... Yeah, it doesn't sound better. Come on. Yeah, something like that's a little more chill. I honestly think that's pretty much on the money. I don't think there's something I'm missing. One of the more active parts of this. Back into the piano. I have reverb on that one. Why did I add reverb there? I don't know. It just felt good. The piano had a reverb on it, and I just wanted to blend it into the back. How are we doing on time here? 50 minutes? I don't know why they decided to take over my main screen. Side out there, I thought about climbing it. All right. Let's do a volume automation for this. That is too low. I think we've covered quite a bit of ground. Let's just get a sneak peek of where ozone is picking up. Like how it matches with like a normal orchestral kind of deal. So, what would the loudest part be? It would probably be this last chorus. Maybe I'm gonna say like drop it like right there. Say EDM. Okay, I caught it. Not too bad. The bass is what's making it sad. That's fine. Okay. Nothing here's too crazy. It's pretty funny. I'm thinking, let's add a little bit more of that short tuba in because I was removing that afraid. Holy smokes. Hold on, let's put this away real quick. Short tuba needs our help. So let's take it from about where it was. Alright. It didn't super help the muddiness of it, basically, which is what I'm picking up from this 300 band. The sub needs to come up. This is not that bad, honestly. This is just like higher gain. And then just a little bit of more high end on it. Not that bad. That's really not that crazy. This is also pretty nice. The reason is that we're getting a good spread just from that BBC Orchestra, Symphonic Orchestra template. And then these, I just look for them to be spaced out. This is around where we're cutting anyways. This is a little surprising. And then this is usually dialed down. But Yeah, I'm not that mad at that. That is not that bad of a reading because next we're going to go through and do some compression and some EQ, and we should have just a better lineup for it. We played this one pretty much to death, but I'm thinking we do. I'm thinking about getting rid of like layers we don't need. I think we're past the writing stage. I think we're gonna start narrowing it down just a little bit. That way it's not such a cumbersome thing to look across. All right. Let's look here. Can't believe we're getting rid of the harp, but we are. We just did not use that tool. All right. So we've shrunken everything down. Let's go ahead and take it at the top. Listen all the way through and hear how it loops. All right, here we go. I think we can add. Why not add these real quick? Hold up. There was another set of these. Where did they go? This might have to be recreated. Okay. Seems likely to be a bigger problem. Yeah. I think we lost a part. Pretty specifically remember there being counterpoint to that. I know exactly where it dropped. I missed it earlier when I was cutting tracks. That is not so bad. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. It is a lot better than me having to go back trying to figure out where I can start recreating this thing from. No, let's remove the space. Now that we're not separating by instrument, we're separating by section. That's going to help us compartmentalize everything. What a string section. Okay, so let's go back here. Why would I possibly close this? Alright, let's save this before I mess anything up any further. And let's give it a listen. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm really not trying to stretch this out. Yeah, I just want to hear the loop. Okay, and there's the loop. Wow, what? That was good progress. I think we got through a decent amount in that one. So this was episode 40. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, one or two more sessions on this. We really wrapped up like the performance aspect of it. So there's not a lot left to do as far as like each individual thing. I think, and we used a little ozone just to kind of see where we're landing, and it's pretty healthy. So I am excited about that. I think I think right now we have like a good idea of what the picture is going to be. We just got to bring in all the different things into focus and figure out, like, the reverb bus will be a great way to figure out what belongs in the front and what belongs at the back. The piano, obviously, we kind of stuck further in the back, and then I think it was the glockenspiel was the other one that we sent further to the back. But really, we haven't touched anything else. So there's a lot of the violins. There's a lot of like the piccolo. Like there's so many other instruments that we can still set kind of a distance for. So maybe it feels more like a blooming chord coming out of the back, and the leads are a little bit more like in your face. Bum ba da da. Anyways, so I think we are in a good position to go in next time and just start running EQ, compression, and I saw a new technique that I would like to try where it's from that Reaper Mania. Kenny, he's the goat, dude. He has all kinds of videos that are super cool. And I saw him do kind of like a top down thing, so where he said, we take this EQ on this bus and we know we want to make these changes, so let's take this exact EQ curve and apply it to each thing. So we're kind of, our default start is um, I don't know, already skewed the way that the whole thing should be going, which I thought that was kind of neat. And then we could still scan through it, but it just allows you to kind of have, I don't know, a different approach. So I'm thinking I'm going to try that for this just to see what happens with it. And we'll probably do that by the section. So I'll do like a woodwind bus, a string bus, a brass bus, and like a auxiliary percussion bus. Yeah, so that's where we're gonna call it on this one. We're just a little over an hour again, and I appreciate everyone for watching. If you want to just see where this goes, subscribe. I'm trying to keep a nice steady pace. We've been going since I think December, so we've been going for quite a while. Yeah, so if there's any questions, any suggestions, feel free to give me a comment. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one. Peace.